Alrighty, welcome to Blender. This is like nothing you may have used before. So a quick tutorial. When you open the screen, you're going to be on a navigation setting. Each of these arms represents a way that you can move your square. And that's highlighted down here in blue. You can also rotate the square by clicking on a different colored axis, like so. And you can zoom in. There is a lot of controls using various functions on the keyboard. So right now I'm holding down Control, and I unfortunately am using a trackpad, so it is not the best tool to be using for this. If you have a mouse, you'd be better off, but you should definitely learn some of these little shortcuts, as they call it, for Blender. It makes your life a lot easier, having done this a couple of times. We're going to use this cube primarily for what we want to do, just so we can get accustomed to it. And my two fingers on my trackpad will rotate the screen however I want. Also, you may notice on the screen a camera right over here, and there is a light also on the screen. Yep, it is at the back right here. Okay, that figures into lighting effects and whatnot. We won't get into a ton of that, but it does figure into a lot of different things. We're going to make a simple animation. What I'm going to do first is raise that cube up. This object right here is a cursor that will place whatever you add to the screen on that spot. It has, in this menu area, which you find by clicking on N on your keypad, it has its own display right here. Oh, you can't see that. It has its own display right here, which if you click and make all these 0, it'll return the cursor to the center of this world right here. Okay. But what I use so far has been primarily at the bottom of the screen. Now we're going to get into trying to animate this. So Blender has so many tools, and one of the tools is to add an object right over here. So what I want to do, I want to add a mesh, and I want the mesh to be a plane. Here it is. Now, because I'm using the trackpad, I have to come over to my right menu right here, top right, and I have to select the plane. When I select the plane, it becomes orange, and then I can come underneath it here and select what looks like a diamond-headed arrow, or an arrow that's maybe been worn down in some way, and it changes these X, Y, and Z axes. So now I can drag on my plane and make it larger. It gives this cube a floor. Okay. And again, I can rotate with my two fingers on the trackpad. You can see that it's floating. Pretty cool. Again, I'm going to be honest with you, this is all new to me. I enjoy computers, but the capability of Blender is next level. So now I have opened up on my left hand side of my screen. There are options when you have selected an object, and in the Docker area next to that are other tools as such that you can use, and one of them is physics. So for this animation, when I have the plane selected, I want to make the plane passive. So when I make it passive, it turns green. Okay, and then I'm going to go all the way back over to this side of my screen and click on cube, and then go back to my physics and make the cube active. I want the cube to do different things on this screen. It's going to be part of my animation. All right, so there we go. Now, just change this back right here because I don't want to do too much more with that. So again, control, I can zoom in on my cube. Now, for my animation, I'm going to use a grease pencil. So I come back over to the left-hand side of my screen, click on grease pencil. I'm going to draw. I want the grease pencil to stick to the surface. And a couple other things. Over here on the left-hand side, after clicking N, you'll get options for your grease pencil. More options. One of the options is to parent what you draw with the cube. You want to select that. And right now it's on X-ray. That means that if I draw on my cube, I can see the lines all the way through it. It might be interesting to use, but I'm going to uncheck that right now. And I'm going to draw a little face on my cube. So I'm going to hold down the D button, and my mouse becomes a drawing brush, or a brush. I'm telling you, it's not that detailed, but I'm going to animate this cube, give it a face. You might say big deal. When you come down to the bottom of your screen, you can hit play and the cube will fall. Pause it, go back, play, the cube will fall. Okay, I'm going to pause that and go back. Not much is happening there, so I would like to go back and in my upper right selection area up here, upper right, it keeps track of everything you add to this animation. So I'm going to click on my plane, and I want to rotate it a little bit to create a, so what I did to do that is right next to my XYZ axis, there is the direction, and then there's the rotation, and then there's the scale. So I'm going to rotate this plane forward a little bit so it creates like a hill. So then when I click back to my cube and play, the cube will fall, but it kind of sticks, and we're going to change that. Coming back over here, there's a lot more tools in this area, so you have to expand the screen, and one of these tools is right here. It is, when you hover over it, it should call it, give it a name. It is the physics tool, okay? Similar to what was on the other side of the screen. And if you scroll down, you'll see friction. I don't want any friction on this surface, so 0.0. But maybe I want my object to be bouncy, so 0.7. And I'm going to shrink that back. Move my screen around a little bit, sorry. Move my screen around a little bit. All right, and I'm going to hit play again and see if that makes a difference. So play down here. And there goes the cube, it begins to slide. All right. So I want to zoom out a little bit, so hit Control, zoom out. And if I go to the left-hand side of my screen, you'll see View. I want to maybe go to the, let's go to the right view. Nope. Let's go to the left view. There we go. That's the left view. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So you can see that things are shrinking and changing. You want to click on this type of perspective where things don't shrink and change, everything stays the same size. So it's the opposite of perspective. And it is called, let me see when I click on it again, the ortho view. Okay, orthographic. So nothing is modified when you shrink or change your screen. I'm doing this view because I want to add another plane. So over here, I'm going to expand this screen a little bit again because it's shrunk down. I'm going to click on my plane, and then I'm going to go Shift D, and I'm going to copy that plane, and then I'm going to rotate it. Okay, giving this cube a little action here. And then I'm going to go back to solid view and rotate it to the front. Okay, and then I'm going to play it. Here it comes. Slides on down and off it goes. Perfect. Now, what we can do, because we're artists, is animate this face a little bit. So I'm going to click on the cube. And I'm going to come over to the left-hand side of my screen, over here. And it's the lower view button. And next to that is another selection, tool selection. I'm going to go to Dope Sheet. This is for animating, one of the 3 options for animating, so you can really hone down what frame you want. So it lands right there. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to click Draw. I'm going to make it D, hold down the button, hold down D. You can make it react to falling. Move it along a little bit. Hit Draw again. Hold down the D button. Have it back to smiling. Slide it a little more forward. Let's get near the edge. Click on Draw. Hold down that D button. Exaggerate these eyes a little bit. It's going to become a little fearful. Move the frame along a little bit. Starts to fall. Go to Control, zoom out. We can go back because it should have a little bigger or more aggressive change in its face. Hit Draw again. Hold down that D button. Really exaggerate maybe the mouth this time. So the mouth is going to become huge. Eyeballs maybe thicker than before. One's a little askew because it's upset. And off it goes. So it ends at about frame 1, let's see when it disappears. 139, okay? So, let me check my notes. Over here on the right is the render key. Expand this a little bit. And you can see that you can change where you want it to end at let's change it 139. So okay, bringing it on down. It just makes rendering it a little easier and saves on the memory. Sorry it's taken so long. I tried to click in the frame, but it didn't really work. So I went by it. All right, we're at 139. So it's going to end at 139. So let me move this back over. And let's check on the view. All right. So I'm going to click on normal or solid again. Bring this dope sheet back to the start. Now I get the choice as to where angle I want to render my view for my camera, how far out I want to go. So I'm going to push this back. I'm going to have this type of view right here. And then at the bottom of the screen I get render active viewpoint, and that's the viewpoint I'm going to pick. So there it goes, it starts to animate. And it looks upset, and off it goes. And it stops right there. So I'm going to have some notes as to how to share it. But the output is the way to do it. We don't want it as a PNG. We want it to have it as a, what one is for the motion? This one, video file, FFmpeg. All right. And then we will have more notes onto how to share this out after you get to that point. And that's it. Hope you're able to follow along with that. And good luck. If you have questions, let me know.